Southern Miss hangs on for a win and move on. Their first road win since November 23. It's Locked on Sunbelt.
You are Locked on Sunbelt, your daily podcast on the Sunbelt Conference, part of the Locked on Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, Dave Schultz, Locked on Sunbelt, your teams every day. Today's episode brought to you by Mazda. Like our players, we sweat every detail because when you make every move count, pulling off the unexpected is only the beginning. Stay tuned later for highlights in this week's Moving the Game Forward, Mazda. Move and be moved. We will get to, someone brought it up on my, actually on Twitter, on X, is JMU in Louisiana trap game, and can anyone pull off an upset this weekend? Well, that was a heck of a ball game. Tale of two halves, as they say, 38-35. Southern Miss hangs on. I mean, J.C. French kept on giving them the game. He did have a turnover. Give credit to J.C. French and Clay Helton for that fact of the matter. They could have packed it in and gone to the backup. But they came out and played well in the second half, and Southern Miss did not. I mean, Southern Miss played well enough, but they dominated in the first half, so they get away with the victory. All right. They got it's a very interesting offense. They could not run the football very well tonight. I'm not sure why. And they don't dink and dunk, which is exciting. That's for sure. It's not the highest percentage play. Team stats overall, I mean, I guess they did. They ran up better in the second half. Well, this didn't feel like it. 184 yards is obviously a good total, only 3.8 yards a carry. Remember, it was 3.2 in the first half, so they ran it pretty good in the second half. Georgia Southern ran it for 82 yards, technically all 82 coming in the second half. And this was a 38-21 lead, I believe. And it almost got away from Southern Miss. Georgia Southern going on 2nd and 6. Georgia Southern going for the strip instead of just the tackle. And they would have had a third down. They would have had a chance to get off the field. So I'm not exactly sure what that idea was behind that. Certainly the first half was all Southern Miss. All right. For people who know and watch and have listened to the podcast or my radio shows, I hate defensive pass interference. I despise it. It is a bogus rule. There's no reason that the defensive back needs to turn around and look at the ball. That's not his job. Shouldn't be. But because they want offense in the game, they made that the rule. I understand the rule. I thought Southern Miss got a couple of cheapy ones. And I know that because if the defender wasn't there, they're not catching the football. All right. The second one was more egregious than the first one. The second one, they called it after the ball had landed and the Georgia Southern defensive back runs into the tight end as it was. I didn't think that was pass interference. And then apparently a cheapy pass interference called on Southern Miss. So I despise those calls. Nonetheless, Southern Miss takes advantage of those calls. And just, again, scoring, I wouldn't say at will, kind of, it felt like, you know what that felt like? Felt like a hockey game. Kind of felt like they weren't moving the ball all that well, and then, boom, 50-yard touchdown pass. Right? It just felt that way. And then, again, J.C. French just throwing brutal after interception. His last one to Josh Moten looked like he was throwing to Josh Moten. Like, what was he doing? The second interception was to the middle linebackers at Montgomery. Like, where is he going? How do you not see where the middle linebacker is? Overall, though, again, as I mentioned, win on the road. All right. In yesterday's episode, win and move on. I would say hashtag always a bright side. If you are Charles Huff, you won the ball game, but now you have a whole second half to coach up. All right, so that's kind of a win-win if you're looking for it from the coach. Of course, he may be going in to get some Rolaids. What was it? Wasn't it like 150 yards difference at half 421 total yards for Southern Miss, 395 total yards for Georgia Southern. 313 yards in the air. I thought, and can look at this both ways. Take the first scoring drive, which I think would be their second drive for Georgia Southern. There was a 9-yard slant. All right. Now, a blitz was coming off of wouldn't say off the edge, but maybe the linebacker, the second level, if you will. The wide receiver in the slot is for Georgia Southern is a couple yards off the line of scrimmage. The defensive back is 17 yards away from him. Wide receiver was lined up on the 41. The defensive back was on the 24. It was an easy 9-yard pitch and catch. All right. And so later on, it was a little soft defense as well. I get it that you don't want to go over the head. But goodness, it is an interesting defensive philosophy. The defensive front is very, very good for Southern Miss, but those defensive backs tend to play really soft. I don't quite get that. Also, I would say, and I've mentioned this before, early on in the season, it seemed a lot of teams go right down the field and score on the first possession, and then the defense makes the adjustment based on what they're doing. And that kind of looked like what Southern Miss did tonight. They gave up an easy touchdown to begin with, then they adjusted, didn't give up anything in the second half, and then or in the first half, and then they fell apart in the second half. So interesting the way that game turned out. Again, win and move on. Southern Miss is 2-0, right? I will say on a side note, at the same time this game was going on, Kennesaw State was destroying Louisiana Tech. Now, in that ball game, Louisiana Tech's quarterback got hurt. So not great. Kennesaw State beat Louisiana Tech 35-7. I only bring this up because Dexter Williams II was the quarterback tonight for Kennesaw State. He has not had a great year by any stretch of the imagination. Played in 3 ball games. This is his 4th. It looks like he started at least 2. He was 27 of 36 for 4 touchdowns and 290 yards against Louisiana Tech. They got a good defense. Now, defense was on the field all game long because the offense couldn't do anything. But the point is, Dexter Williams II brought Georgia Southern back twice last year. Brought him back against Marshall and Charles Huff, and brought him back against South Alabama. Couldn't win the job. You have J.C. French. It's a tough slog, right? Remember, they had that close ball game against Sam Houston State because he had 4 interceptions. You throw 3 interceptions, you lose by 3. Now, one of those interceptions you got right back, right? And I'm not going to really blame Southern Miss for throwing the football there. They completed the pass, and Georgia Southern got a helmet on the ball. Other teams trying to, right? This is not a foolish interception or something like that. They completed a pass, helmet on the ball. That's what you're taught. And they fumble the football. All right. And the other team's trying to. But nonetheless, Southern Miss, again, could they? Southern Miss all of a sudden has 4 wins, right? And so they need 2 more to be bowl bound. They get the Cajuns, and one would think they would be 5-2, and maybe ULM will be 5-2 when they match up in Southern Miss in a couple weeks. That is going to be big. Going to be big. So Southern Miss kind of win and move on, right? First half was outstanding. Second half, not so great. Georgia Southern, 1 too many mistakes. They just, as Rocky Boyman from ESPN said, at least in the first half, everything looks hard. Nothing looks easy. And so that's what happens when you play 30 minutes and everything looks hard and you lose by 3 when a couple of plays here, a couple of plays there, and the game is totally different. I don't know if you take anything. I'm not sure if you take anything. You take we didn't quit, right? We hung in there. You can take that. I'm not sure how much fans like that. But I would look at it the other way. If we, didn't throw the ball to the other team 3 times, they may have been in the football game. All right. Although Southern Miss's defense was outstanding in the first half. Outstanding. All right, let's take a timeout. I mentioned that ODU and Marshall is a trap game. Someone questioned me, is JMU and Louisiana a trap game? I don't think so, but it certainly could line up that way. We'll do that and tell you about that right after I tell you about DoorDash and FanDuel. It's almost the weekend. Time to look back and crown this week's MVP. Who delivered? Powered by DoorDash. Just like you can win every Saturday with DoorDash streaks, saving more every time you order. These players delivered when it mattered most. Let's break it down. This one's going to be Jaylen Raynor from Arkansas State. Delivered in a big way, leading the Red Wolves to a huge comeback, or a huge win, I should say, over Texas State, driving 75 yards in 53 seconds. Red Wolves come away with a 31-30 victory over Texas State. When the pressure was on, Jaylen Raynor came through. No hesitation, no delay. If you've been watching week after week, you know the performance wasn't a fluke. Jaylen Raynor is on a streak. And just like Jaylen Raynor delivered for Arkansas State, DoorDash delivers your Saturdays with DoorDash streaks. You save every Saturday you order, stack it all up all season, and you can save up to $250, including $100 in DoorDash credits. Order this Saturday. Keep the streak alive. Fuel your game day only with DoorDash. Terms apply. Promo period through 11/18. And FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel has an offer you don't want to miss. Right now, new customers can bet just $5 and get $300 in bonus bets if you win. That's right. Pick a bet, put down $5, and if it hits, you'll unlock $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. It makes watching football even more exciting when you've got a little something riding on the action. Whether you're a casual fan or love diving into the stats, FanDuel makes the game day experience so much better. What are you waiting for? Visit FanDuel.com to download the FanDuel app today and get started. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. I mentioned the ODU ball game in yesterday's episode against Marshall. Seems to be the classic trap game. You're going to JMU next week. It's going to be on national TV. You got to play a lesser opponent this week on the road. You're a huge favorite. Someone said, why isn't JMU and Louisiana a trap game? Well, it could be. Certainly. I mean, what is it, a 20-point spread? The difference is JMU is at home, although I guess maybe that would make it more of a trap game if you think about it. It's an 18.5-point spread. The Cajuns are playing with their third-string quarterback, dynamic as he may be, a banged-up offensive line, and one of their two running backs is probably not playing this week. I guess on paper it seems to be a trap game, but I just think JMU's strengths is the Cajun strengths, and I think JMU's strength is a little bit better. I think JMU's rush defense is better than the Cajuns' rush offense. I mean, the other thing, though, is JMU can't screw around offensively, and they don't seem to have been pretty good at that. They also are very good running the football, and the Cajuns can't stop anything. So, I on paper, I guess it could be a trap game because you're JMU. You got ODU at home next week. That game's on national TV. The thing is, this game's on national TV. ESPN2. Kicking off first thing Saturday afternoon. There's no way you want to get embarrassed on national TV. So, and as we mentioned yesterday, this would be the first step in starting to talk about college football playoff. We say that ODU only lost Indiana, and look where they are. And I know they lost last week, tough loss to Virginia in overtime. But the only loss that JMU has is a 2-score loss to Louisville. Pretty good. All right. So you start talking about college football playoff if you start winning and looking good doing it. If you struggle defensively or offensively, but look good defensively, that may, if you win 17-7, that's going to be because you're really good defensively, and the Cajuns couldn't do anything offensively. I don't happen to think it's a trap game as much as ODU and Marshall, but I see the commenters point. All right, let's go through a couple of ball games here. We went through that one. Georgia State hosting App State. I think A.J. Swan has been cleared. I'm not sure who is going to start, him or J.J. Cole. Remember, A.J. Swan kept on turning the ball over, probably more explosive, more accurate, stronger arm. J.J. Cole didn't have impressive stats except two things. He won, and he didn't turn the ball over. Right. That's probably the two most important stats, one leading to the other. All right. Marshall is, again, a 14.5-point favorite at home. I'm sorry, a 14.5-point underdog at home. Monroe, a 2.5-point favorite on the road against Coastal Carolina. Can they win on the road? And again, they have not been favored on the road since 2017. My goodness. And Texas State is hosting Troy. Bobcats are 7.5-point favorite. All right, we will go over who can pull off an upset. All right, I have my thoughts. We will do that next after I tell you about Mazda. This episode brought to you by Mazda's Moving the Game Forward. For those who believe it's not just about playing the game, it's redefining it. There are moments that do more than put points on the board. They move crowds, move culture, and keep moving the game forward. This week's moment that moved the game forward is Tucker Kilgrease leading Troy in overtime to a 31-24 victory against South Alabama. He had 2 touchdowns in the air. He had another one on the ground, and we are giving it to Tucker Kilgrease, the backup quarterback in for Goose Crowder for those Troy Trojans. When you follow what moves, the unexpected is only the beginning. And just like there's more to every highlight, there's more to a Mazda vehicle. Mazda, move and be moved. All right, Dave Schultz, Lockdown Sunbelt, your teams every day. There's obviously a lot of opportunities for upsets this weekend, okay? Home dogs, not usually only, especially in the NFL. I don't know about so much in college because those can be mismatches. Home dogs tend not only to cover, but they tend to win. So does Coastal Carolina pull off an upset? Not major. It's 2.5 points. You're hosting ULM. I'm going in there thinking ULM is going to win the football game because Coastal's not that good. I would think Coastal thinks ULM is good, but, we don't know that. It's not the same old ULM. That is for sure. All right. At least not against same competition. Against Alabama and Northwestern, not great, Bob, but they're not trying to win the SEC or the Big Ten. They're trying to win the Sunbelt. And at this level, it appears they can compete. We will see. All right. What about, again, I don't think the Cajuns have enough to do it. It's a lot of points. I think somebody from the Sunbelt Syndicate picked the Cajuns to cover. Wow. Yeah. There's a difference between gutsy and ballsy. And maybe that's just gutsy. Ballsy would be picking the Cajuns to win. You do have Marshall, 2-touchdown underdog at home against ODU. Don't we think Marshall wants to say, hey, why can't we hang with the big boys? Let's see. This is a good test. Let's see where we are. You get again, ODU has a propensity to turn the ball over. When they do, they slip by Liberty 21-7. When they don't, they beat Coastal Carolina 47-7. Force a couple of turnovers and see what happens. All right. And then I think I would watch out for this one. I would be watching out for Troy and Texas State. All right. Because Texas State is 3-2. I'm not sure why it's listed only 2-2, but they are 3-2. Coming off that win, as we mentioned, against South Alabama, 31-24 in overtime. They have Texas State and Monroe. Their schedule is not easy. They do host the Cajuns. They do host Arkansas State, go to ODU, host Georgia State, and then finish up the season at Southern Miss. That is not an easy schedule. is Texas State. Is Texas State typical Texas State? Really good at home, stubbed their toe a couple of times, and never take it quite to the next level, right? Doing a good job of getting it to the level that they're at. 7-8 wins a season, winning bowl games. That's a whole new level. People have been looking for just a little bit more since they did what they did in year 1 of G.J. Kinney. Now they're in year 3 of G.J. Kinney. And I did not hear of his name being mentioned anymore for any of the other jobs. I don't know if I've heard anybody. I think I just saw the Washington State coach the Washington coach is up for the UCLA job. What are you doing? What? Come on. Why would they want him? And why would he want that job? I don't understand. That does not. Something's not copacetic there. Nonetheless, I'm not sure. I like all the favorites. I will like Troy a little bit in this one. That would be the one that I would pick to be the upset. I mean, I guess, Georgia State is 2.5-point favorite. I'm sorry, Georgia State's 2.5-point underdog at home. If they can play a little bit like they did against JMU, why wouldn't they be able to upset App State? The thing is, you haven't put a game together. You have not put a full game together. And I don't mean a full 60 minutes. That's another one of my pet peeves. You hear that from coaches all the time. If we take care of what we need to take care of, we'll be fine. Wasn't the other coach saying that? Says the same exact thing. It's tough to play a full 40-minute ball or 60-minute ball game because some things are going to go the other team's way. It's just going to happen. And we saw that with Southern Miss and Georgia Southern. They J.C. French throws his 3rd interception. They're converting a first down, and they throw the ball, complete it, helmet on the ball, turnover. I mean, those things happen because the other team's trying too. So it's tough to play a full 60-minute ball game. We see that. I mean, Coastal. I think ODU did it last week, 47-7, and then you have others like Southern Miss and Georgia Southern. Whereas, what are you gonna tell me that the second day that they put on the second team weren't playing with the backup? We're playing with the backups. I doubt it. So I'm not a big fan of the whole we haven't put together a complete game yet deal. But they haven't put much together in terms of, they played a good half last week against JMU. I guess that's a start, but you're only up 7-0. I'm not sure we all thought that was going to be, I would say it this way. I'm pretty sure we all thought that wasn't going to be enough against JMU. So we'll see. Again, I think the biggest opportunity for an upset is still going to be Troy versus Texas State. We shall see. All right. So who knows about my internet? All right. I have something to do via the internet first thing in the morning, but I'm moving tomorrow morning or on Friday. And so I disconnect the internet here and reconnect it at the new place. However, something came up where I need the internet first thing in the morning, and they won't. Can you just extend it for the day? And I'll pay an extra, whatever it is. How much could it be? Nope, can't do that. So what could possibly go wrong on a Saturday? So we have internet for Friday, and we'll see if we have internet come the weekend. I'm supposed to just turn it on when it goes on and hook up my whatever modem they gave me. And so we'll see how that goes. So there may or may not be a Monday episode is what I'm trying to get to. A long-winded answer on saying we hope to have internet this weekend. I'm probably going to read a book and unpack and go to bed early on Friday because I don't have an internet at home until I get home on Saturday. No, at least in theory. And let's hope that the internet, because I got a text message from AT&T saying, by the way, your internet may shut off at 1 a.m. Friday morning. I'm like, that's not going to work. That's not going to work. So we hopefully will have internet again by Sunday. All right. Again, what could possibly go wrong over the weekend? It took 10 minutes, by the way, to get somebody on the phone from AT&T. 10. They keep on telling me to call the number that I called. Very strange. All right. So enjoy the football. There are some good matchups. Still looking forward to next week's JMU and ODU ball game. All right. But we'll see. Maybe Marshall surprises. Maybe the Cajuns surprise. See if Georgia State surprises. See what ULM does on the road. And see if Troy can pull an upset. All right. And see if the home dogs win or the road favorites win. So I think it's going to be a good week of football. Certainly, if you stayed up to watch that Southern Miss ball game, you got your money's worth there because that ended up being a pretty good ball game until the end. All right. Again, we should be back on Monday. All right. I guess I can put something out if I don't have internet. Just do it on the phone or something like that. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. You have been watching Locked On Sunbelt, your teams every day. Enjoy the weekend football. We'll be back with you hopefully on Monday.